All right. So, a mixed bag out of Florida on the abortion front, on reproductive rights, because Florida's Supreme Court has upheld a 15-week ban on abortion, but has also said that it can be put on the ballot in November. So, the positive, the optimist in me wants to believe that the Supreme Court is actually trying to kill this abortion ban by um basically what's the word, getting advocates and other people to the polls to vote it down. So let's just get to the article. Florida's 6-week abortion ban will have far-reaching effects, advocates say. And if you're confused because I said a 15-week abortion ban, just wait. A state Supreme Court ruling upholding Florida's 15-week ban means a 6-week ban can go into effect in 30 days. Advocates who help people access abortion say this will make it harder for patients around the Southeast to get care. Which, yeah, actually it will. Let me make this bigger. Okay, abortion rights in Florida will change drastically in 30 days. The state Supreme Court has decided to uphold a 15-week abortion ban that has been in effect since 2022, which is triggering a 6-week ban that lawmakers passed last year. Advocates for reproductive rights say this will harm patients. It's going to be very difficult for someone to find out they're pregnant, make the decision to have an abortion, and then get that abortion before they're 6 weeks pregnant, said McKenna Kelly, a volunteer board member with the Tampa Bay Abortion Fund. And since there's also a fight against the morning after pill, emergency contraception, you know, I can't even say that people under these bans can just, have sex and then take a morning after pill the next day to prevent getting pregnant. It just, yeah. The group helps people pay for abortions and get transportation to appointments. It anticipates a huge increase in demand for assistance once the 6 weeks ban goes into effect. Someone who may be able to fund or partially fund their abortion locally, they may not be able to pay for a plane ticket or a hotel stay if they suddenly have to go to Washington, D.C. or Illinois to access abortion, said Kelly, who estimates about 90% of callers will have to go out of state for care. Planned Parenthood of Southwest and Central Florida was the lead plaintiff in the case. It argued that the 15-week ban should be overturned because past court rulings had affirmed a privacy clause in Florida's constitution applied to abortion. Justices on the conservative court wrote a majority opinion released on Monday that, consistent with long-standing principles of judicial deference to legislative enactments, we conclude there's no basis under the privacy clause to invalidate the statute. The court's decision is expected to have national impact. And I'm waiting for when they mention but it's going to be on the ballot in November. Florida's 15-week ban is still less restrictive than bans in most other southern states. That is just sad. Thousands of residents from places like Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana have traveled to Florida in recent years to access abortions. With the 6-week ban, effectively abortion is going to be cut off for the entire Southeast. This will strain clinics in states where abortions remain more widely accessible, she's added. Florida's 6-week ban included exceptions in cases of rape or incest, or if the pregnant person's life is in danger. Okay, and again, if you don't even know you're pregnant, how can you obtain an abortion? I mean, this isn't something that women are like, you know what, I'm going to go through a medical procedure, just in case I have whatever, in case I'm pregnant, I'm just going to, schedule an appointment. That's not how abortion works. What the hell? Voters will have a chance to undo the law this November. In a separate ruling on Monday, the court allowed a proposed constitutional amendment that protects abortion access to remain on Florida's ballot. So I guess it was on the ballot, but they just didn't, and people wanted it kicked off and didn't succeed, I guess. That decision drew harsh criticism from opponents of abortion rights, some of whom also accused the court of taking too long to rule on the 15-week ban case. Of course. Nonetheless, by overturning prior case law that has improperly held that the privacy clause of the Florida Constitution encompassed the so-called right to obtain an abortion within the state of Florida, today's favorable decision on the 15-week abortion ban means that 2023's Heartbeat Protection Act is now slated to go into full effect, including the prohibition on the vast majority of Florida abortions after 6 weeks gestation. And that is a silver lining in an otherwise dark day for Florida's unborn children. Andrew Chevelle, Executive Director of Florida Voice for the Unborn, said in a statement. Okay, so, first off, yes, it is a right to have an abortion just like any other health care. You don't have a right to have an appendectomy. You go and get a freaking appendectomy if you need one. In case your appendix decides that it wants to try to kill you. So, same thing here. So that's number one. The Heartbeat Protection Act. There is no heartbeat. It's a pseudo heartbeat in the sense that people think when they listen to it, it's a heartbeat, but it's not. So, and even if it was a heartbeat, it's not viable. We pull the plug on people in vegetative states, not because the heart stops beating, but because you're brain dead. So the heartbeat is not the flex you think it is. All right, and let's see. Oh yes, and about being voice for the unborn. This, and I've mentioned this before, this just drives me crazy. The assumption is that all fetuses want to be born. They don't have wants because they do not have a consciousness yet. So they can't think, oh, goody, goody, I'm about to be born. That's not how this works. So I'm not sure how you're being the voice for the unborn when they have no care regardless of whether they're born or not. They barely know they exist. I just do not see what voice you think you're being. Fine, you don't want to get an abortion. You are in a position where you don't need an abortion. Great, don't have one. Nobody's forcing you. But don't tell other people who need to have an abortion for whatever reason that they can't because you don't like it. It's like, I know that this is old and it's been making the rounds on social media for a while, but it's basically like yelling at somebody else for having a cake when you're on a diet. Okay? Your decisions and their decisions have no influence on each other in this case. So What the hell? Supporters of abortion rights say the impending 6-week ban makes passing the ballot initiative, which would allow patients to access the procedure until fetal viability, more important than ever. And I know that Florida is a snowbird state, that it's a retirement state, that a lot of the people there are elderly and hence have no skin in the game when it comes to this. However, most people have empathy. And most people understand that even though they no longer are in a position that they would ever need the service, that doesn't mean they should prevent others from having it. So I'm hoping that this makes a good turnout for those who are pro-choice. And I've mentioned this before. It's not just Democrats that are pro-choice. There are plenty of Republicans who are too. They don't want to lose abortion. So, at Planned Parenthood, the doctors and nurses have seen firsthand the devastating impact abortion restrictions have had on patients in Florida and across the country. Laura Goodhue, executive director of the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood Affiliates, said in a statement. Lawmakers should focus on helping ensure greater access to care and healthier outcomes for patients, rather than interfering in Floridians' personal medical decisions and attacking healthcare professionals. We now look forward to voters enshrining Amendment 4 in our state constitution this November and returning these decisions back where they belong, in the hands of patients and those they trust, rather than meddling politicians. Exactly. This is not about whether abortion is good, whether it's bad. It's about minding your own damn business. It's like I've mentioned before, I think it's an Idaho politician. He voted to ban abortion, and all of a sudden he gets inundated with, well, I shouldn't say he gets inundated, but suddenly he hears of a woman who needed to have an abortion, needed to have it medically, but the law wouldn't allow her to have it. And suddenly he's like, oops, because he had no understanding of this. And the reason he had no understanding is not because people didn't tell him, but because he had his head so far up his ass that he decided that he knew better than everybody else what's happening, regardless of whether people, give them horror stories. And then suddenly he believes his horror story. It's like, well, wait a minute, you didn't believe it before. So it's great that he's changed his mind, but really? How about you believe women before you did something really stupid? So, same thing. Politicians should have nothing to do with abortion unless it's their own. It's their own, or they're having this discussion with a loved one. Otherwise, none of their business. Actually, it's none of anybody else's business except the person who's pregnant and the doctor and family. If this person has a good relationship with their family, go for it. Discuss it amongst yourselves, figure out what's best for you and your family, great. But I don't I do not have the right to tell someone whether they can or cannot have an abortion, because I'm not involved. So why do I think that this has anything to do with me? So, yeah. Unfortunately, Republicans have this really, really bad habit of not caring about things unless it affects them. Not always. There are some Republicans who actually are capable of basic empathy, but not until they're hit over the head with a mallet. So anyway, I believe that is the end of this article. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.